Mitosis and meiosis. In this video we're going to look at these two processes and make a comparison of the two. We're going to look at mitosis first. So what is it? What does it do? Mitosis is the process by which new body cells are produced, and they're produced for growth. So during adolescence, from a child into an adult, you grow, you get taller. That's where we get the new cells from. They're also used to replace damaged or old cells. So inside your body, cells often die, they're often damaged, they need replacing during your lifetime. So let's have a look at this process then. First step is we start off with your original body cell, the cell that we want to replicate, duplicate during this process. So here it is. It then undergoes mitosis and splits into two identical daughter cells. So we start with one cell, undergoes the process of mitosis, and you get two daughter cells. The way I remember that you get two daughter cells is there's a T in mitosis, so I get two daughter cells. And these are genetically identical, exactly the same cell as we had up here. So let's have a look at that in a bit more detail. Here's our original body cell. Inside the cell we have a nucleus where our DNA chromosomes are stored. I've reduced the number of chromosomes here to make it a little bit easier to follow. Inside our bodies we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. In this example I'm just going to look at 4 pairs of chromosomes. The pink chromosomes represent ones that you've inherited from your mother. The blue ones represent ones inherited from your father. Okay, so inside a real cell there are 23 pairs, 46 in total. So the first step is each chromosome is copied to make an exact duplicate of itself. Okay, so they're the female ones, the ones inherited from your mother, they've duplicated, and then the ones from your father also get duplicated as well. So I've now doubled the number of chromosomes in the cell. Those chromosomes then align themselves down the center of the nucleus of the cell. Spindle fibers then start to develop from the two sides of the nucleus, attaching themselves to each of the chromosomes. And these fibers are going to help pull those chromosomes apart. So they happen from this side, the same process happens from the other side of the cell. There we go, those spindle fibers start to develop, attaching themselves to the chromosomes. So now the chromosomes have aligned themselves in the middle and they have spindle fibers attached. The duplicates are going to separate. Remember, these two chromosomes here are exactly the same. One's been duplicated. So you can get one chromosome coming to this side, the other duplicate, the exact copy, coming to the other side. And the same process happens for all of the duplicated chromosomes. So they separate into different halves of the nucleus. Once they've separated themselves, the nuclear membrane dissolves and two new nuclear membranes form around each of the clumps of chromosomes. So you now have effectively two nuclei inside the cell. The last step of the process is the cell is going to completely separate. You'll get two identical daughter cells made with exact copies of the chromosomes in each cell. So genetically identical, exactly the same cells that just replicated themselves. We're going to have a look at this process then in bone cells to see what happens. So here's our parent cell to start with. One nucleus with all the chromosomes inside. First step is those chromosomes get copied, so there's now double the number. They then align along the center of the cell. One of each of the duplicates is then pulled into each half of the cell. New nuclear membrane forms. You then have two daughter cells with the cells splitting apart into two. So to summarize this process, we start off with one cell containing 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. We then end with two cells, each containing 46 chromosomes, and those chromosomes are identical in each of the two cells. The first step is all of the chromosomes are copied. That's where this double number of chromosomes comes from. The chromosomes align themselves along the center of the nucleus. Spindle fibers attach and the duplicate pairs are split apart as they move to opposite sides of the cell or the cell nucleus. New nuclear membrane forms around the two sets of chromosomes. Then the cell splits into two. both identical copies of each other, and we then finish with our two daughter cells containing 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes each. We're now going to have a look at the second process of meiosis. This is very similar to mitosis, but it has a slightly different outcome. It's there for a slightly different reason. So, what is meiosis? It's the process by which gametes or sex cells are produced. So they're sperm and egg cells in humans. A gamete is that sex cell, and it's a specialised cell, crucially with half the number of chromosomes of a normal body cell. The reason for that is we get half the genetic information from our father, half of our genetic information from our mother. So when those two specialised cells combine, we get one complete set of DNA rather than double the amount we need. So it's important that they have half the number of chromosomes of a normal body cell. So let's have a little overview of this process then. Very similar start to mitosis. We start off with one body cell, original body cell. It undergoes the same process as mitosis, with the DNA replicating, chromosomes separating to create two identical daughter cells. That's exactly the same as mitosis so far. However, what then happens? This is where it gets slightly different. Those two identical daughter cells then separate, and they separate into 4 gametes. Okay. When they split apart, the chromosomes, the DNA, is not replicated. So you have one complete set of DNA here. That cell then splits apart into 2 daughter cells, with half of the genetic information coming into one cell, half going into the other cell. And the same happens for the other daughter cell. So meiosis produces 4 daughter cells, and each of those cells has half the amount of chromosomes as the original body cell we started with. So in meiosis we start off with one cell containing 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs. That's a full set. We end with 4 cells only containing 23 chromosomes each, so half the amount of genetic information we started with. The first few steps exactly the same as mitosis. All of the chromosomes get copied, they align in the centre of the nucleus, spindle fibres attach, the chromosomes separate to opposite parts of the cell, new nuclear membranes form around the 2 chromosomes, and that cell splits into 2. So that first few steps exactly the same as mitosis. If you look back, I just copied and pasted it. Then this next bit is where we get something different happening. These 2 daughter cells then split apart again. The DNA is not replicated, so when these cells split, each new cell has half the number of chromosomes. It ends up with half the amount of DNA you would normally have, which is why these are gametes, sperm cells and egg cells. So when we get 2 combining during fertilization, we end up with a zygote containing just one set of 46 chromosomes. 23 inherited from the father, 23 inherited from the mother. Okay, it's a little task here for you. What I want you to do is read through these 12 statements and work out whether they are about mitosis, meiosis, or whether they are about both processes. So pause the video, go through each one, work out whether they are mitosis, meiosis, or both, and then I'll give you some answers. Okay, hopefully you've had time to pause the video and do that. Here are the answers. Okay, the first one, gametes are meiosis. Chromosomes are replicated in both processes. 4 daughter cells are made in meiosis, 2 daughter cells in mitosis. Remember T for 2. Meiosis creates cells that are genetically different. Both have organelles replicating during the process. Mitosis produces cells that have 46. Mitosis also produces genetically identical cells. In mitosis, daughter cells have the same number as the original. And then the bottom 3 are meiosis, cells having 23 chromosomes, half the number as the originals. And the last one there is mitosis. It's used for growing.